how we roll, man. Some rock, some win, some 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 roll, man. Some rock, some win, some.
Hi, my name is Andrew Kelley, and we are executing at Showtime. Today is a special episode. We have no speakers. Instead, we have some announcements. But first, hit it, Loris. Here we are. In less than 1 month, it will be Zig's 5-year birthday. And it's time for Zig to grow. It's time for Zig to grow up a little bit. First, I want to highlight some important moments in the history that we had, especially when Mark Tyhus joined the core Zig team. That was a special moment because it's when the project grew from just me alone trying to fulfill my vision to being taken in a direction by the beginnings of a community. Next, we had Komari Spaghetti become a core Zig team member. We had Son Vor, Michael Dusan, and finally our newest member, Vaika Tuominen. You've all been doing an amazing job as volunteers in the Zig core team, and the community owes you a lot. All right, so what we're here for today. Today is the official announcements and debut of the Zig Software Foundation. It is an official nonprofit. It has official 501c3 tax-exempt status from the IRS, and we've made our first hire. We'll talk about that in a moment. And now, donations are now possible to the organization, effective immediately. Loris, can you activate? Yeah,
Just
here we
now.
go. So, what we're looking at here is a fundraiser that's happening right now, okay, through GitHub sponsors. And the bar is set to 0. But actually, that's not quite right because a few of you have already signed on. And so if I just run my little auto script here, that should update. Yes. Okay. So I want to say thank you especially to Isaac Yonemoto, to Eleanor, Matt Knight, Jesse Rudolph, Josh Wolfe, and R. Dunnington. Thanks to you all, we're already at 4,000. Wait, how is that possible? 4,800? Sorry, just one moment here. I'm having just slight technical difficulties. Don't worry, this is going to be worth setting up because this is actually sort of a live feedback situation here. Okay, I know the problem here. Just bear with me for 1 second. Wait, oh, this is for real. This wasn't a mistake. Wait, is this for real? Oh, wow. Okay. I was not having technical difficulties. This just happened. Okay. Wow. Thank you to Ryan Worrell, who's subscribed for 4,300 a month. Um. Okay. Yeah, that's just happening. Well, okay. I need to explain the situation here. What we have set up here is that if you get to the if you get to the rewards, then we have some content to share with you today, and we're going to interrupt. We're going to interrupt the announcements and the presentation to share the rewards with you. And so we already have to interrupt the show because we got past Cabbage's 1, and so we got to roll that reward. It's time, right? Loris, can you roll Cabbage's 1?
Hey, this is Andy Kelley, and I don't have any cabbages. Well, maybe one.
So that was an old video I did when I was a teenager that I apparently left open on my YouTube account, and some people from the Zig Discord found it and shared it amongst each other. It's been sort of an inside joke. And so I thought that it'd be a fun little reward for getting to 3,225 if we could I could make a Cabbage's 2.0 video. And well, we've already hit that goal, so hold on, let me slow down. Okay, the other goal that we hit is that I think I'm covered with my my salary from the Zig Software Foundation, even if everyone switches over to donating to the organization. So my job is secure. The next reward is Cabbage's 2.0. I think they've earned the reward. What do you think, Loris? Should we roll it? All right, so you earned Cabbage's 2.0. So there you go. I hope you enjoy that. Thank you especially to my brother, Wesley Kelley, for helping me with that. Wow, this is happening so fast. Okay, you know, when we hired... wow, I didn't expect this to be this far so soon. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to turn this over to Lori in a few minutes, but first, actually, let me get to that in a second. Okay. Yes, everyone who's here, if you're donating to my bank account directly, thank you so much for supporting me. We're here today doing this right now because of you, and that's amazing. You have the option to continue supporting me as an independent open source developer and just giving me sponsorship to my bank account. But if your goal is to support the Zig project, now would be a good time to switch over from donating to me to donating to the organization itself. And here's why. So number one, you put your trust in me, right? You've been donating to me, and I really appreciate that. And now I'm proving to you that that trust was worthwhile, because now I've voluntarily become accountable to the legal system, right? So when the Zig Software Foundation has a mission statement, right, and the government actually enforces that we stick to our mission statement, and it's public. All the finances are public, and so by donating to the organization, you get to have more accountability for the money that you're donating. So that's something that I'm really happy to offer to everyone now. So if you want, this would be a great time to switch over, and it does count towards the bar. So if you want to do that now, you will get closer to the next reward. Now, I want to present the Zig Software Foundation's VP of Community, Lordy Crow. Before I turn it over to him, I just want to make note of why he was chosen. You probably know Lordy's from starting Showtime and from doing streams and working on some event loop code in Zig. What I observed from him doing this was someone who was intrinsically motivated, right, to do these things. Someone who can take risks, operate independently, figure out what to do on their own, and just create their own value, right? That kind of autonomy and capability is what we need for early early hires in the Zig Software Foundation. We need people who can be given a lot of trust to just do the right thing on their own, and a lot of flexibility and trust. Just independence, so that they can go just do whatever they want to do. So I'm very happy to announce the VP of Community, Lordy Crow. And now I will turn it over to him.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Of course, I forgot to re-enable my mic, but I was kind of surprised too also that we are already at past $4,000. That's awesome. So what can I say? Well, first of all, Andrew, since we are here and we're live, it's not like there's 94 people watching us. When are we presenting the rest of the board?
We are. That is very good. Yes, we're going to do that right now, aren't we? Yes. Thank you. Let's present them right now. So the
also, wait, why did the bar go to 0?
Because there was a comma in it, and I didn't factor that into my script.
Okay.
It's higher now.
So we continue.
Yeah, we had NaN out of NaN funds there. Okay, yes. In the United States, nonprofits have board members. The Zig Software Foundation has 2 board members. And I chose these board members because I trust them to understand the mission, to be on board with it. And honestly, I trust them to be able to take over if I get hit by a bus. And so, without further ado, I would like to introduce Josh Wolfe, the secretary of the Zig Software Foundation.
Hello, everyone. I'm Josh Wolfe. I've been good friends with Andy for a long time. I was there right at the beginning of the Zig project, and I've been really excited to contribute to it over the years and see its development. I've played a role in helping with the design. I've contributed a bit of code, maybe not as much as I could have, but I'm currently employed as a software developer for not Zig, and I like to help out when I can, and I'm excited to see the project develop.
Awesome.
Thanks, Josh. Josh has been, like he said, he actually has been a big part in the early design of Zig. He was my roommate in college and after that as well, and we had a lot of talks about programming languages over the years. Thanks, Josh. And now I would like to introduce to you Mason Remaley. And he's going to tell you a little about, he's the treasurer, and I would like to, he will tell you a little bit about himself.
Hey, thanks for the intro, Andy. Yeah, so I'm Mason. I'm an independent game developer and freelance programmer. I met Andy, maybe was it 3 or 4 years ago? It feels like more. I'm not quite sure if that's right. We were both living in New York at the time, but we met at HandmadeCon in Seattle. We quickly figured out that we were both working on compilers. Andy was working on a compiler because he wanted to write digital music, but he was unhappy with the current state of digital audio workstations, so he started building his own digital audio workstation, and then realized he was unhappy with the current state of programming languages and decided to build his own programming language. And I had a similar story. I was building games, but I was unhappy with existing game engines. They didn't really quite fit my needs, and so I wrote my own game engine, or I was in the process of writing my own game engine, but while doing that, I wanted to add a scripting language, and I realized that none of the existing scripting languages really fit my needs exactly. So I ended up writing my own scripting language. And I think there's kind of this like inherent dissatisfaction that like motivates a lot of compiler authors. Writing a compiler is a lot of work. It's also very rewarding. But without that kind of dissatisfaction motivating it, it's probably difficult to really see it through and build something that's more than just a toy or an experiment. I guess it's years later now, but I still, every time I have like a technical problem that I'm not sure how to, I'm not sure what trade-off to make on something, maybe I feel like I'm too close to it to really judge it fairly, I send Andy a text and run it by him. I always trust him to have like level head about things and to ask lots of questions and fully understand the situation before providing advice. Unfortunately, I'm also a very busy person, so I haven't had time to be very involved in Zig. I'm trying to ship a video game spring 2021, and like I said, with a custom engine and custom scripting language, and anyone who's ever done anything in games knows that just the game part of that is already a lot of work. And on top of that, I do freelance work to pay the bills. So when Andy told me that he was officially forming the Zig Software Foundation and that he wanted me to be one of the board members, I was A, honored, but B, also a little relieved, because it means I won't have to look back in 10 years and be like, why wasn't I more involved in that? I should have been more involved in that. So thank you, Andy, and thank you to the Zig community for making this project a reality.
Thanks, Mason. That was really sweet of you to say.
Nice. So I guess it's my turn now, right?
Yes. Right on script.
Okay, so I guess it's time for me to say a couple of things about myself. Since there's 200 viewers, there's usually not exactly 200 viewers watching the stream, so there's a few people probably here that don't know everything about me. So first of all, I guess a few people might be wondering, how did I get hired? Well, the answer is that you have to go through a job interview with Andrew. Since there is no HR, he has to almost discard your CV because it's missing keywords. So he has to do this himself. It's really hard. Then when we had a call, he asked me to write a FizzBuzz exercise. In Zig, I used blocks, which crashed the compiler. He said fine. After that, he asked me what was my my biggest weakness, and I don't remember what I replied. But anyway, here we are. But all jokes aside, let's talk. Let me just quickly recap my past experience. So why me? I don't know, but for the last year and a half, so I'm a bioinformatician by formation, and even though I didn't work much in bioinformatics after university, what I did most recently was work for Redis Labs, where I was a developer advocate, and this was a extremely formative experience for me because I learned a lot about communication, and I remember, from not really being able to write stuff, and by writing I mean like not programming, I mean writing in natural language, writing in English or also Italian. I'm from Italy, by the way. And during the course of that year and a half, I learned a lot how to write and communicate more in in a more compelling way, in a way that I can be understood, and also likewise that I can also understand other people better. So I guess that's what allowed me to come up with Zig SHOWTIME. Zig SHOWTIME was something that I came up with in good part because I saw the what the industry was doing in communication in technology, and I was able to steal a few good things that other people were doing, and also I was aware of a few not so good things that others were doing, and I tried my hand at solving them. If you are interested on this stuff, I wrote a blog post. It's on my website, christoph.it. I'm sure you can find a link to one of my social media profiles, and from there you will be able to get on my blog. And it's titled the upcoming future of online meetups, yeah, it's a discussion about the good and bad things happening in the communication industry, the showbiz of tech, as it may. So that said, let's talk about. So this was what brought me here. Let me tell you just a couple of things about me, so that you get to know me a tiny little bit better. People in Discord probably know me a little bit because I interact fairly regularly with the people there. But for everybody else, so first of all, I opened recently a proposal on GitHub that a few people don't like. It's issue number 5404, and it's an issue about re-adding a var arg syntax back into Zig after it was removed. A few people don't like it. Well, don't worry, it was not part of the agreement to hire me to have that accepted. And actually, I want to make a serious point out of this. One thing that I've always done when interacting with everybody else on the Zig issue tracker is that I've never really felt strongly about my issues. And by that, I mean, I opened this proposal because I think it's worth having a discussion, but I'm not even saying we absolutely need to do that. So if I open the issue, so I think it's worth discussing. It's not just a random discussion, a random proposal completely out of nowhere. And if you read it, you will find my reasoning in there. But that said, it's easy, I think, to focus too much on one small detail in your issue that you think it's important, even though you have the best of intentions. You think that that's a great addition to the language, that's something important, and you focus too much on that, and you completely lose track of the big picture. And I think that it's important that we all strive to keep the spirit collaborative, lighthearted, with appreciating the effort that also everybody, and the point of view that also everybody else is having. I think that we all have seen quite a few heated discussions in open source recently, and the point is that while some or most of them are definitely important, I think we need to understand that open source is a fragile thing, and you need to make sure you don't destroy everything just to get your point across. And one thing that I usually repeat, and I think I'll write a blog post about this too, is that open source is beautiful. Actually, free software, or I would say spontaneous software development, is a very beautiful thing, but nobody owes you that. Nobody really owes you any software. So it's even in your own interest to try to be empathetic and keep a collaborative spirit. The second point that I want to make is about Zig SHOWTIME itself. So let me give you let me make clear what the relationship between Zig SHOWTIME and the Zig Software Foundation is. A few people also said, mentioned that what was like Zig SHOWTIME a way of like, was that my actual interview? Maybe, I don't know, but not from my side. And by that I mean, I actually decided to start Zig SHOWTIME because I wanted to do this kind of community-focused work, but I did it myself. I didn't ask anybody for permission, and because there is nobody to ask permission to. Like, that's the point of this kind of endeavors. You can try your hand at something. That doesn't mean necessarily that everybody else has to like it. As I said, it's a matter of collaborating and like human relationships play into that. And so, for example, I did ask if people were interested in some kind of online meetup thingy, and if nobody were, I would not have done it, and I could not have expected everybody else to want to join it if there were no interest. And my point then is that that's kinda also the point for many other initiatives that right now it's the best time to start thinking about. So there's Zig SHOWTIME, but nothing prevents somebody watching right now to start their own Zig-related show, their own Zig-related websites, their own Zig-related whatever, right? I was joking earlier about interview questions, but there is one interview question that I can actually answer for real in this case. And that's, you know, when they ask you, what makes you qualified for this job? Why do you want this job? And usually the answer, I don't know, man, because I like to eat and sleep under a roof. But in this case, I actually have a good answer. I started being interested in Zig because given my path in life, my formation, I was never drawn into systems level programming. I've always been, as I said, a bioinformatician. I've always used languages that with automatic memory management. Yeah, I did do some C, but not seriously. And for me, every time you get into a subsection of computer science, or let's say of software engineering, there's always an upfront cost of things that you need to learn. And I pay the price of learning how to do web stuff, for example, and bioinformatics stuff. But for me, it was never economical. It never really made sense to pay the upfront cost of learning systems programming stuff, because there is a lot of that, and maybe if you're inside of that you don't notice it, but from the outside there's a lot of friction there. And at the same time we have people like Jonathan Blow and a few others who rightfully complain that we are kind of losing that craft. But what they are missing, I think, is that there's a lot of people that are actually behaving very rationally in not wanting to pay that upfront price to learn how to do that stuff. Then I saw Zig, and actually Zig changed the equation completely. So I started being interested in Zig because that was an opportunity for me to get into the stuff, but by paying a much lower upfront price. So that was the original point. After that, so coming to today, I like Zig a lot. I can see myself living off Zig SHOWTIME or a Zig consultancy of some kind. Oh, and we're getting closer to the pasta. I don't know if I want to give out my recipe.
Is the cha-ching sound working?
Yeah, it is. I can hear it.
Nice.
Oh, there's Benjamin. Hey, Benjamin. I can see Benjamin Sarjan in chat. Go rewrite Redis in Zig. Not today. But yeah, so the point is, there is, inside Zig, there is so much potential right now, and we need people to take that potential and have it discharged to the ground, like become real. And keep in mind that if you don't do it, somebody else will. So don't feel ashamed in wanting to do something for yourself and the community. The rule of thumb, so that said, some of us probably know that there are ways of trying to live off of Zig, but in a way that it's not necessarily constructive. But so the rule of thumb for that is make the pie bigger, make something that the community wants, and you will make, and and try to live off of that if you want. So these are very exciting times, and we should not be ashamed. We should be bold. We should be really thinking about what the possibilities are. This is the perfect moment for that. So I guess these are the main points. Please try to be delicate when it comes to spontaneous software development, because it's a beautiful but somewhat fragile thing. Be appreciative of what other people are doing. Don't take everything for granted. Don't think that because you are getting Gmail, Twitter, and a bunch of other services for free, that it's the same for open source software. There is no big company behind Zig. All of this is done by people that believe in it. And I think you should respect that. I think ethically, and also because, as I said, we all enjoy open source software, and so it's fine to want more people to write more of that. So yeah, I guess this is all for me when it comes to my point of view on this stuff. And I guess it's time to spoil some of the things that we are going to work on in the near future. When it comes to me, so things that I will work on as the VP of Community for the Zig Software Foundation. So let me start.
Can we take a short time out and just do some sort of meta things here?
Yes,
okay.
Please.
I'm gonna update. Can you put the link to the sponsorship on the stream? Is that on the overlay? Is that something you can do right now?
I can totally do that. And by the way, I was supposed to have a bot send that message regularly, and guess what? I forgot to enable it. I'm gonna put it every 5 minutes is going to
just
spam
one moment for some things, and I'm gonna change the sponsor button on the GitHub repository. Just a couple minutes, and then we'll move on to the next section here.
Sure. Thank you, by the way, to everyone that's spamming it in chat.
Yeah, thank you. Even the stream is, we have contributors here, right?
Yeah. So give me a second so I can add the overlay.
All right, let's try out this GitHub web editor. Yeah, I think it worked. Great. Thanks for the suggestion. Yeah, so we'll just get that little overlay on. Thank you. Yes, beautiful. And then we'll move on. Love it.
Nice. Hey, King,
and then one more thing.
Yeah.
So we forgot to explain what the picture of you means on the donation bar.
Did we?
Yeah. So when Lourdes was hired, the understanding was that part of his role is to well, that's what you're about to talk about. Part of his role is going to be to, seek more opportunity, seek more funding for the organization, and until we get it, he would just have a limited number of hours with which to do work, and if it didn't work out, he was going to have to find something else to do. But since we hit this funding goal, Loris has got his job is ongoing. So how do you feel about that?
I feel good. Although, if I remember correctly, I forget the nickname because it wasn't easy to pronounce. I apologize. But one person wanted to make a one-time donation.
That was Ryan Worrell.
Okay, so I guess that's Ryan. He wanted to make a one-time donation, and I told him that we don't have a one-time donations set up for now.
Yeah.
So I told him, well, one way of doing that temporarily would be to just make one big donation one time and then take out the recurrence, stop doing it recurrently.
That's understandable.
Yeah, but yes, my job is right now has an expiration date, and I I guess I did, what would you call it? Take the plunge, do a jump of faith, because I did leave my previous job to join the Zig Software Foundation. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, let's talk about the things that I'm supposed to do. And but it's not just a laundry list of things that I need to work on. I think there are also things that are interesting and probably maybe a little bit exciting also for people in the community, because keep in mind, it's like with Zig Showtime, I can be basically a catalyst. I can help things happen, but Zig Showtime exists because of the speakers mainly. And also in this case, with my role as VP of community, it's still going to be the community that is going to make the difference, not me. I'm here just to make it easier for everybody to make things happen. So I'm going to work on setting up some ways of having like institutional communication. Right now, there is a bit of lacking. There is a lack of material that explains you how to do everything when it comes to Zig Foundation related stuff. One example, for example, is now we have a donations at ziglang.org. It's an email address that you can contact for inquiries about donations. Also, it's not just communicating towards individual community members, but also communicating towards companies, because we want companies to start considering adopting Zig. We know that the language is not yet stable, so it would be early adopters. It would be companies probably not too gigantic and working in a field where having a low-level language is really important. Oh, I apologize. The Nightbot started blocking links. So why do we want to communicate with companies? Because we want them to adopt Zig even though it's early. I think there are out there some types of companies that really can make use of Zig even now that it's young and not yet at 1.0. And to do that, we need to properly explain to everybody what Zig is, what Zig can do, and of course, the stability problem is a big one, which is why we are also going to institute a Zig stability program. And the Zig stability program will be a way for companies that wish to adopt Zig to have assurances of stability, not in terms of API, but in terms of bugs. So the idea would be that if we decide that a particular use case of Zig becomes important for a company that has decided to adopt Zig, we will prioritize bug reports and try to fix issues, and even release minor versions to ensure that that feature works as intended. For the company that's using it. Again, I have to say it's a bug stability assurance, not an API stability assurance. So the API is still allowed to change because we don't want to constrain the design of Zig. That's the whole point why we are here with Zig and not using an already existing language, which is with its already established design. So this is going to be exciting. You can also imagine that this has a way. It's not effort free, right? This has a weight on the development of Zig. So we will need to find a balance between offering guarantees to a company that is willing to invest into Zig. And that's pretty much the main things that we are going, that I'm trying to work on after we're done with Showtime. I guess that's all for me. Andrew, I think it's our part now.
Thank you, Loris. That's all really exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing you go through some of those things. And also, just to reiterate on that stability program, I want to make this very clear. This will not in any way compromise our ability to make the the design of the language and the standard library, what it needs to be, and we're not going to lock ourselves into stability and have any legacy code. This is going to be something where we find the areas where we can say things are stable because they are stable, and just advertise the fact that is the case. So I just want to make that very clear, that there will be no compromise of the integrity of the code. All right. And with that, I just want to leave you with I want to just sort of paint a big picture for you, you know, of what this future can look like. Just imagine this: small, lean organization, 4 to 10 paid full-time maintainers. Everyone gets a comfortable salary or hourly wage. Everyone gets to choose their own hours. No growth, no hockey sticking, no going public, no investors. Just a few people who get to make a living and just work on the open source project together. I'm really hoping that we can just get a little bit more funds to be able to reach this idea. And the kind of people that we're going to be looking for are people who are already internally invested in the project, intrinsically motivated, already want the project to succeed, and people who can, think critically and decide for themselves which parts of the project are the parts that they're most interested in, and willing and able to, sort of lead themselves, right? Figure out for themselves what they're going to do with their time. So hopefully we can get a little group of people who do that. And then after Zig hits 1.0, right? That's a big shift. After 1.0, we shift to maintenance, development of the ecosystem, right? We're talking about packages, high quality, useful packages for the community. And then some educational stuff for students. That's actually part of the Zig Software Foundation mission statement, is to mentor the next generation of programmers. We want to help future generations of programmers learn. We want to help them raise the bar, right? Like high quality code, and we want to raise the bar of ethics too, and help the new generation of programmers just really become, sharp at their craft. So that's it. I just wanted to paint that picture for you. That's what we're looking at here. And the next section that we're going to have is Q&A. But before that, I just want to remind everyone that we're pretty close to finding out Laurie's pasta recipe here, and he's very reluctant to give up this pasta recipe. It's extremely proprietary right now, and I don't know about that. I feel like this pasta should be open source. Yeah. All right. I think it's time for Q&A. Loris?
Yep. So also members of the board, if you are here, manifest yourself in video chat and let's answer some questions. I'm sure
Nice.
there will be a few. So please tag us. I think we all have Twitch chat open, so we'll be able to see everything. I don't want to moderate everything strictly, and maybe if we have also some things to chat about, let's do it on stream. Yeah, so make sure to tag at least one of us. I'm guessing you're going to tag probably either me or Andrew. But yeah, at least one of us to make sure we don't lose it. Can we see the cabbage again? Yeah, we can see the cabbage. There's also another video. There's another video that it doesn't show up in the bar. It's another video that we could show.
Oh, we had Easter egg content. Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one I sent to Mason, right? Oh, no, don't show that one. That's embarrassing.
I got my hands on it, so...
I want to watch that one again. I've already watched it like 6 times.
It's loaded into OBS, so it's one click away. But I think we should show Cabbage again. I mean, it's a classic. Why not?
You're gonna roll it.
Hey, this is Andy Kelley, and I don't have any cabbages. Well, maybe one.
Oh yes, that was nice.
Why do you gotta keep rolling that video?
So I guess there's one question for you, Andrew. How is networking coming along?
Networking. We haven't seen a lot of progress in the standard library this release cycle because of the focus on self-hosted compiler. However, we have seen some pretty significant progress in community libraries. I think there's two independent ones right now, and I'm actually probably less well equipped to answer this question than MQ32 from the chat would be. I would actually just tell people to talk to MQ32 about that, to answer that question.
Nice. So there's another one. I think I can start asking that. Then Andrew, you can take over if you want. So the question is, can you provide an update on async support? I can tell my part of the story, so then I guess you can feel.
Yeah, I'll do a quick answer and then I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, okay.
As far as async await suspend resume goes in the language, we've arrived at the design that will go into the language spec. The proof of concept is there; it works well. However, there's some polish to do, which I don't plan to ever do in the stage 1 compiler. Basically, the summary on that is everything's figured out. And now it's just the engineering work of self-hosted compiler and then the standard library, and that's just the no more research to do, but a lot of just engineering to do on that. So I mean, we're looking at probably 2 release cycles away before that's really mainstream usable and not experimental.
Yeah. On my part, I've been taking a look at the way the event loop integrates with the rest of the standard library. And right now, the event loop, like the original event loop was written by Andrew, right? You wrote the entirety of it, right? Yeah. Was written by Andrew just to make it work as a proof of concept so that people can start experimenting. And that, for example, what allowed me to write a client for Redis in Zig. It's called OK Redis. And but the problem is that the original design was based on the idea that non-blocking I/O on the OS was based on a notification system. So you try the syscall. The syscall returns you E again. So it returns you an error that tells you, I can do this right now. Try again in a while. And at that point, you are supposed to subscribe yourself through another API to get a notification that tells you, yes, now you can try this API, this system call again. So you can think of it, for example, a read on a socket. You try to read from the socket, but there's nothing there. So you get an E again, which says there's nothing there. Try again sometime in the future. And then you subscribe for updates to know when some bytes land in the socket. Now, not all system APIs work that way. I think the most popular example, I guess, is IO ORing in the Linux world. I think also IO completion ports on Windows work that way. So they work on a different assumption. The assumption is you try the syscall, and the syscall intrinsically says, okay, I took note of this. I will complete that syscall when I can, and then you will need to get a notification that it's completed. So it's not a notification API, it's a completion API. And to support that, we need a different integration, to integrate the event loop in a different way with the rest of the ecosystem. It's a very, I would say, minor job, to be honest, but it's something that I've been doing on stream, also chatting with people in the community to make sure that the few changes that I'm doing make sense, because there are a few people that are actually very invested in that kind of stuff. Just to name a few, there's Cape Rotti, there's Specs, there's Dornimator, and a few others. So that's pretty much my side of the story when it comes to async await. So it's not async await per se, it's not coroutines or async frames, but it's in the same ballpark, let's say.
All right, what's the next question?
Yeah, I think there was a question that was for each and every one of us. So I think we can have Josh and Mason start answering that. What part of the future of Zig is each one of you most looking forward to? Can be anything relating to the language. Who wants to start?
You go first.
No, let's have Josh, you can start if you want.
Yeah, sure. I'm really looking forward to Package Manager in Zig. This is something that package management seems like a problem that shouldn't be as hard as it appears to be, looking at all the other implementations that exist. And I know that there's a lot of problems to solve when it comes to package managers, but it's hard for me to imagine that all of the existing solutions is really the best that we can do. So I'm looking forward to how the Zig package manager evolves. I'm looking forward to using it. And I'm really looking forward to obsoleting all of my current usage of Git submodules, which are one of the worst examples of doing package management. But that's the best that I have right now for the projects that I'm doing in Zig. So I'm looking forward to a package manager to solve that problem.
Mason?
Am I muted?
No, you're.
So Andy, you've been talking, I assume, publicly about the fast debug build stuff, right? I'm not like spoiling any surprises by talking about that. So yeah, I'm super excited. For those of you who don't know, Andy's been working on a backend that instead of going through LLVM goes straight to x64 for the purposes of just like having a really fast compile time for debug builds. That seems like a very reasonable solution to me. And anyone who has looked at my work knows I really care about compile time a lot. So Andy's laughing because I built a whole language with the goal of doing hot swapping. So yeah, I am very excited at the idea of being able to compile things instantly.
Yeah, that's a big one. I agree. When it comes to me, I wouldn't mind having the Zig Software Foundation have enough cash to support me and at least one extra developer to help Andrew. But of course, talking about stuff that, it's obvious why I care about this stuff, but talking about something else, I'm looking forward to seeing more activity around Zig when it comes to conferences and meetups and blog posts and this kind of interesting material that it's less effort to craft than writing a fully comprehensive documentation, a full from start to finish, A to Z explanation of how the language works. That takes a lot of effort to do. And for example, Soapstone is trying to do that, or a good chunk of that with ziglearn.org. But there is so much space for small blog posts and stuff like that. And I would be really happy to, have my Twitter feed filled with this kind of stuff so that I can retweet it and ask and annoy the authors and ask them to come on Zig Showtime and prepare a talk, which is a bit more effort usually than writing a blog post. And I think there is a lot of interesting concepts in Zig that really need to be explained to the outside world. And I tried my hand at that sometimes. I wrote a blog post about comp time, for example, which I think was fairly well received. Then I tried my hand at writing one about async await, which is, I think, more complicated to explain. And that has... I'm happy with the end result, but there need to be more voices that try to explain stuff from different points of view. I can only explain stuff from my own, which is just one of many that are out there. What about you, Andrew?
I'm most excited about when Zig is done and I can work on something else, because believe it or not, I actually would rather be working on a music player or a digital audio workstation or a game or something else. Don't get me wrong, I like working on Zig, but what I'm most excited about is using Zig to actually just make good software, right? This is a means to an end.
Nice. So, what's the most comprehensive documentation reference that people can use? I think that's for you, Andrew.
The best documentation reference would be the official one that is linked on the download page. That's your language reference right there.
Next question. Did the ZSF setup process hinder or slow down Andrew's plan for the 0.7 release cycle? Do you have to do a lot of work?
That is a good question. There was a bit of work associated with it. However, I did hire a lawyer to do the work. That cost about $4,000 US, start to finish. And that took a lot of burden off of me. And let's see. I don't know. I mean, I definitely was able to focus on code. What we're looking like, if you're looking to start a nonprofit, you know, and like how much time you're going to spend, it's the kind of thing that you could sink as much time into as you allow yourself to. But I was consciously trying to not do that, and so I sort of did, you know, the fastest minimal amount of work that I could do to do it by the books. You know, do it like appropriately and stuff. And so it came out to, I want to say, 1 or 2 hours a week, maybe. So not bad. Just got to do it. You know, you got to do the chores. Lawyer sends you an email and you got to respond right away.
Mason, Josh, what did each of you had to do to become members?
You want to go first, or?
I mean, I can answer. The answer is that it was not very time consuming for me. We had a meeting. I took minutes. We recorded those in a somewhat official way. Did some official communication. It wasn't very hard for me.
Yeah, similar experience. Andy did a really good job at. I think Andy didn't want to ask too much of us, given that, you know, we're not paid for being board members, and so he did a really good job at sorting everything out with the lawyer, and then setting up the meetings with us, outlining what our responsibilities are, how everything works, making sure it's all clear, answering our questions. But he made the process pretty seamless.
Nice. So Andrew, how complete-ish is the feature set of Z 1.0? Wow. What is left that is particularly big?
There's 1 or 2 more things that are still require a little bit of experimentation before it's really finalized. A big one is recursion. I've got a plan for that now, but it's not, the proof of concept is not done, you know, so we might learn about some monkey wrenches when we try to do that. Maybe someone could do me a favor and drop a link to the recursion issue in the chat if anyone wants to learn more about that. Another thing that I still want to look into is aliasing. Right now, Zig has a well-defined memory model with no type-based alias analysis and really no other kind of alias analysis except for the fact that you can put no alias on parameters. And that's still sort of an area where the language needs to be figured out and stabilized. I still would like to maybe try to experiment with aliasing a little bit. So the deal is, there's one thing that Rust has over Zig in terms of speed, and it's the fact that the rules that their borrow checker provides for the optimizer means that they basically just know that almost every single variable is not aliasing each other. And they know this at compile time, right? Because that's the whole point of the Rust borrow checker. And it's a pretty significant optimization opportunity, and it's something that Zig doesn't have, because in Zig you're allowed to mutate one variable by mutating another one through pointer aliasing. So anyway, that's another area where I still want to put a little bit of thought into the language. I'm not ready to say that status quo is final. And then I think there's maybe like one more of these topics, which I am not remembering off the top of my head. But other than just these sort of like loose ends, it's mostly done. It's just a bunch of implementations to get us to the point where we can write the stuff into the spec. Fix all the bugs, release the version.
Okay, next question. What's going to happen to stage 1 after stage 2 reaches feature parity?
Oh, yes. I want to answer this one. Okay. Here's what we need to have at the end of the day. We need to be able to have a 2-3 step bootstrapping process. So you get the C code of the Zig compiler, and you build the Zig compiler. Then you use that to build the Zig code, and you get the self-hosted Zig compiler, and then you use that to build itself, and you get the final output. That is the process that we want to get to. And that is the process that we're at now, right? We have the stage 1, we have self-hosted, although self-hosted isn't done, so it can't build itself yet. Now, I've been thinking about a new idea, and I'm getting more and more attracted to this idea the more the time goes on. I'm really happy with the design of self-hosted so far and where it's going, and I'm not happy with the design of stage 1 and where it's ended up. So, what I've been thinking about we could possibly do is, once self-hosted becomes powerful enough that it can compile itself, and we got all the bugs out of it, and it's good, and it's what we're shipping to everybody, I'm thinking that we can do a one-time thing where we compile self-hosted into C code and then use that as stage 1. Now, we can't do that as a process, right? Because that C code that's output will be it will be generated code. That does not count as source code, right? If you're trying to bootstrap, you can't use that to bootstrap. That's not bootstrapping. However, we maybe could, massage that output and turn it into something that would be fair to call source code. And then that code would then have to start being maintained, right? It would mean that one-time thing where we start maintaining this generated C code. Now, I've actually done this once before on the Groove Basin project with Josh. We actually used CoffeeScript, and then we even got a little weirder and used Cocoa, which was, it was a wild journey, but eventually we just ran it through the compiler to JavaScript and just committed the JavaScript back into the repository, and then just slowly over time cleaned it up. And that's the code that's there now. So I think this is an option for us. And this idea is becoming more and more attractive to me because if the code that comes out of stage 2 is clean and bug-free, we can basically just close, 400 stage 1 bugs at once. That's a pretty compelling motivation. So that's the news update I got on that. I think that answered the question.
Yeah, well, that's definitely an interesting answer. I hope that everybody watching got that. Yeah, that's like bootstrapping to the fullest, right? you have the Z code out of nowhere create itself. That's awesome. So one question for our fellow board members. So Josh, let me start with you. What have you worked on in Zig recently? Have you worked on any project that's written in Zig that you want to share with the public?
There are a few interesting ones I could share. The most meaningful ones to me are a few video games that I've been making. So there's a fantasy game, and I've just started a puzzle game. Like last weekend, I just started one. So I'm definitely using Zig for some projects that I think are fun. There's also one bit of infrastructure at the place where I work that's written in Zig that I get to maintain. It was put there by Andy shortly before he quit. It was a little bit subversive to put that into the infrastructure, but it's not buggy, not causing any problems, and it's pretty easy to maintain. So those are a couple examples of how I use Zig.
Wow, so we can say that there is a company out there that is actually running Zig in production.
Not production.
Oh,
it's more of a development tool, but
okay.
Yeah.
So Mason.
Yeah. So I think that was the question the one that I'm most proud of or most interested in? I forget what the wording was.
Any Zig project that you're working on that you are willing to share with the public?
So this isn't like a ongoing thing, but it was a fun little project I did with Andy. I think it was, I don't know how many months ago it was. Maybe it was last year. I was visiting New York, and Andy and I went and spent a day at the Research Center. And it was before the plans to kind of do the the faster comp time for debug builds by going straight to x64. And we decided to spend a day at the Research Center building a little like a toy compiler in Zig for just a little calculator language that goes straight to x64. It doesn't go to assembly, doesn't use some outside assembler. In fact, actually, it outputs just an ALF file. And that was super fun because it was the first time I've ever done something like that, and it lined up with something that we both wanted to do. Andy wanted to be able to do that to see if that's like a reasonable thing to do to make fast compile times. And I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I have a little scripting language that I want to run faster, and I'm currently compiling the bytecode, and I was toying with the idea of going to x64, which for me would be a performance boost as opposed to like a performance decrease because I'm not going through an optimizer anyway. So that was fun, and it was super easy to do in Zig, I thought.
Okay, so this begs a third question that maybe somebody has seen that was coming, but how comes neither of you has applied to Zig SHOWTIME? Well, so if you want to know, we are always looking for speakers, even if they're not members of the Zig Software Foundation board. And shameless self-promotion, I'm giving out t-shirts for people that speak 3 times. You have to speak 3 times. And
3 times.
Yes, and you
3
can't
times.
buy this. I don't have a merch store. You have to earn this. You can't just buy it. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah?
Can I give I'm sorry, finish your thought, and then I wanted to say something.
Sure. No, but anyway, I'm sure, thank you guys for sharing what you're working on. And to be honest, I would be definitely super interested in having you coming to the show for real. I'm not just as a joke. And also, I'm sure there's people in the public that also has interesting things that they're working on in Z that others might be interested. And if you don't like the spotlight, if you don't want to come on Zig SHOWTIME, that's fine. Just join one of the existing Z communities. You can go on the Discord server or on IRC and share a link with the people there. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be really happy to see what you're working on, even if it's not complete. It's fine. You're saying, Andrew?
Oh, I just saw some people in the chat talking about the package manager. Well, and Josh was talking about it as well. And I wanted to say one thing. I know how important that piece of software is to the community. I'm well aware of that. And here's where I am on that. I can't work on it yet because as soon as we have the package manager, everyone's going to find out how slow the stage 1 compiler is. You see what I'm saying? You add 10 dependencies to your project and it's going to grind to a halt. So I am working my butt off on this self-hosted compiler, trying to get it, to use low amount of memory, compile really fast, so that it can handle all the millions of lines of code that you want to throw at it once you start depending on each other's projects. So I am working towards the package manager. I just got to make the compiler go faster first so it can support that. That's where we're at.
Okay, sounds good. So before we keep us answering questions, I think we need to show something. By the way, thank you for everyone. Thank you to everyone that has been donating in the meantime. We are, I guess, getting closer to the pasta, but you are not quite there. But we can show, I think, Andrew's video. I think it's titled aux cable, as in auxiliary, I guess. Anyway, let's watch it and let's see what happens. So let me find it.
Do you want to say why this video exists?
Oh, please do. Please give us the lore.
I was complaining. I was saying you should never make a car. Like, cars have such nice speakers. You should never make a car without an aux cable that goes into the speaker. That's just a ridiculous thing to do. And some cars have it, but plenty of cars don't. And Andy went and got in his car and discovered that, in fact, his car does have an aux cable and decided to show me that.
Okay, let's see it. We're back. Nice. I enjoyed it.
That song,
I have to
that song is called Zombies Ate My Neighbors by Schoolboy.
So I have to ask, do you know that song really well? Or did you practice? Because there are like some weird like triplets that are like spread over 2 measures or something in there, and you kind of like knew when to speed up and slow down to keep in time with them.
No, that's like one of my favorite songs. It's so good.
All right, that explains it.
Oh, I want to answer this question real quick. Someone asked how many lines of code per second the self-hosted compiler can go. Okay, I'm going to give you a number. Now, I want to give you a caveat, though. It's not fair because it's a bad test case because the self-hosted compiler can't do a lot of stuff yet. So this is just like a super simple, like, hello world example test case where it's just printing the same thing over and over again, but it's like a lot of lines of code. Okay, I measured that, and it came out to a number that I can just look up because I sent that message to somebody. But I'll look at it for a second while we do other questions. So let's go next Q&A question.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Let me see. I was scrolling down. It's hard to keep up with the questions because we are lagging so far behind. There's so many messages. I'm catching up. Okay, and that's how far my history goes. Okay, today I found out.
We can ask people to repeat questions. That's okay.
Yes, that's a good point. Please, if I miss your question from a while ago, just reissue it. Re-ask again. I think you can even press the up arrow on your keyboard and Twitch is gonna repropose it, I think. So let's see. There's a comment which I think maybe Andrew you can comment on because I think it's a good one, and I kinda went through the same motions myself, I think. So Timmy Jose is saying, I find myself missing abstractions like traits and dynamic return types. I find that if I use it as a high-level language, it's kind of frustrating for me. As a low-level language, it seems very good.
Let's see. What's the most high-level thing I've done in Zig? I don't know. I feel like when I do low level things and when I do high level things, I don't really see a difference to myself. You know, like yeah, plenty of things in the in self-hosted compiler need to do virtual dispatch, for example, and I don't know. I feel comfortable with the field parent pointer abstraction. I mean, I agree. Like, there's certain kinds of refactoring that's easy to do when you have objects or traits. You know, you can just kind of like slap a trait on something, and then all of a sudden you can edit your code in a certain way. It's like easier to like add stuff on. I would agree that in Zig, a lot of times if you want to add something, you need to go rework some of your code. I think this is actually kind of intentional. I think that the point of or one of the ways that Zig encourages you to write code is sort of holistically understanding your entire use case, your entire code base, and making changes this way, rather than some of the more like C++ or Java language features where part of the use case of the language feature is that you don't understand the whole code base and you want to edit. You want to add a feature, for example. I would agree that a lot of the ways that you would do certain abstractions in Zig, you would need to learn a little bit more about the code that you're editing before you could be productive in it. I don't know. Maybe
I have a thought on this.
Something I was trying on.
I have a thought on this. I don't think it contradicts the way you're talking about it, but it might not be exactly how you thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like well, it wouldn't surprise me, and I don't actually know who asked the question, so I'm not like saying this is or isn't true of the person who asked the question, but I think that it often doesn't occur to people to re-implement these abstractions, but you can a lot of the time, right? If there's an abstraction that you're used to in C++, for example, a lot of the times you actually can just pretty easily recreate it. But the interesting thing about a language that doesn't do it for you is that you can adjust your implementation to fit your use case. So obviously, implementing some abstraction that doesn't exist is more work than not implementing it, but it comes with that side benefit of being able to get exactly the feature you want rather than something that approximates it.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on that as well. If you do end up implementing some high-level language feature using compile time, anything like that in Zig, anyone else who comes along and reads the code there's a limit to how confused they can be by it, because everything looks like just Zig code. That's function calls, it's expressions, it's statements, even if it's in a weird position, like maybe it's in the return type of a function where we're doing this fancy stuff. At least it's understandable syntax, and the semantics are intuitive. You can go find the definition of a function and see what the function does. So yeah, I think Mason's point is exactly right, and the way that high-level features manifest in Zig is also intentionally easy to get a foundation for what is happening.
I would personally add on top of that to say something in favor to what Timmy was saying. Or at least the way I understood it, I found myself a couple of times, like for example, when I was writing my library, my Redis client library, I wanted to allow people to extend some of its capabilities. The idea is that you would be able to, if you wrote a module that created new commands for Redis, you would be able to write a small addition to the main client so that the client would be able to be aware of those commands. And while doing so, I found myself writing a few checks over the type structure to assert that what they were giving me would be a struct that implemented the right methods and everything else. And it felt kind of redundant to write these checks because I can see other people try to write those checks anyway. So, but at the same time, I think that the reality is that what I was attempting with that client was also to see how far I could get with metaprogramming in Zig. And I do get the feeling that probably most of Zig code shouldn't rely that much on those abstractions. And I think there's a gigantic space of C-style programming that we kind of forgot about, partially because C is annoying when it comes to other stuff. But there is some beauty there that I think we kind of lost. And for example, since I was doing Redis stuff, I was also reading some of the libraries that Anti-Reyes wrote. And there are some interesting things there that you can still pull off through a limited interface. And it's even better that way. So my point of view on that is that, yes, I do think it would be nice to have to avoid, for example, re-implementing from scratch every time type checks that try to do a trait style-ish thing type checking. Again, I'm not talking about dynamic stuff at runtime, just comp time stuff. But on the other hand, that stuff really makes you pontificate way too much on the code that you're writing. It makes you write stuff in a very prescriptive way, which is, I don't know, it's something that I found very off-putting in many languages at various levels of abstraction. Java, C#, C++ come to mind. So I think there's a muscle there that we kind of stop stretching, and once you start seeing more people doing that, I think you will find that there are a lot of very easy things that you can do, low-hanging fruit. It's just that you weren't aware of that. So that's my take on it.
I have a follow-up answer to that other question about lines of code per second. Okay, so again, so far it's a silly benchmark, but on my computer it was 1.5 million lines per second for printing hello world 1 million times. Nice. Which also, if you did the equivalent code in Clang, it's 8 times as fast as Clang and 3 times less memory. Gotta go fast.
So what should go into the Zig standard library, and what will change when there's a package manager?
Yeah, so right now we're in the pre 1.0 phase. So what goes in the standard library is just kind of like, anything that has good enough tests and is generally, a notable, useful thing, because it helps test the language, helps find regressions, helps us figure out how to organize everything. And then there will be a point where we stabilize the language. That's what we're working on now. Then there's the point where we try to stabilize the standard library. And this is the point where the easiest way to stabilize something is to delete it. So kick it all out. If the package manager works well, then we only need to have in the standard library things that the compiler needs itself, things that need to be standardized because there would be harm in having too many different implementations of the same simple thing. And that's all I can think of off the top of my head. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but that's the general idea.
Nice. So there's a question from Luna, and I think this one makes a lot of sense. Are there any plans to have a $10 a month tiers on GitHub sponsors? Currency rates are brutal in some places. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I think we have to, I'll answer that, I guess. I think we have to do some work on designing those goals. I can tell you that, and you can confirm this, there is a limit on the number of tiers that you can put there. So if we add a $10 one, and by the way, your point makes total sense, we'll have to kick out one of the others. So it's not an infinite resource. So yeah, I think you're right. We'll try to think about it more as time goes on. Anything else that you want to add, Andrew?
Nope, I think you covered it.
So let's see. There was a question a while ago. I lost it, but it was about the garbage collector for comp time. Do you have any news on that?
Yeah, I remember that question. Okay, so it's ironic that a language with manual memory management needs so many different garbage collectors in the compiler itself. So there's 2 reasons we need one. Well, there's just 2 separate use cases here. So one is that the self-hosted compiler does incremental compilation. So if you change only one function, then we only recompile one function and only update the machine code for that one function in the output file. Now, consider that when you compile a function, this allocates memory for all the declarations and the types that you used and all these things. And if you delete the function or you change it, and now it uses different, different structs, for example. Now, you did all these things when you did compiler analysis of the old code. You now need to clean those up in memory and have the new ones in there only. The thing is, these things can all reference each other, right? You can have one top-level declaration referencing another one that references the first one. You can do this. You can have cyclical, references, and so you have to trace these values from their roots to figure out whether to delete them when you do an incremental compilation. So that's one place that the self-hosted compiler needs a garbage collector. Another one is just running a compile time function. So for example, maybe we have a function that we're running at comp time, and there's a loop in it. In the loop, it makes a struct and edits some fields and concatenates an array or something, and then it goes to the next iteration of the loop. It's the same situation. It could have created cyclical references to each other. And maybe, if the self-hosted compiler is fast, maybe we're compiling like a regular expression or something, and it's doing a lot of loops at compile time. Without a garbage collector, it would be potentially just peaking the memory usage really high during that loop during compilation. So that would be another place that you need the compiler to have a garbage collector in it. I think that was the question.
Oh, nice. Thank you for the donation. Let's go. Still not quite at the pasta level, but getting there. I'm fine. I'm fine with keeping my pasta recipe private for a while more. But I do have a trailer, so we might want to watch the trailer to convince people to donate more.
Really? There's
Maybe.
a pasta trailer?
There's a pasta trailer. I don't know, I want to hype it up a little bit because I want people to donate, but it's the first time I was actually recording a video, like a real video with the purpose of like editing it and then making a short that makes sense.
Another one.
Yeah, another one. Nice. Thank you very much. So I don't know. Maybe I'll show it in a moment. But before, there's a couple of questions about the 1.0 release date. Andrew, do you want to answer that one?
Yeah. What was the actual question?
Is Zig 1.0 release date when? When is it?
I'm not going to give you a date. Here's the best thing I'm going to be able to give you. I don't think that the self-hosted compiler. Sorry, just a side note. Eleanor, stop donating. You're done. Okay, it's other people's turns. Okay, 1.0. The self-hosted compiler is not going to be shippable in 0.7. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that it is reasonable that we can ship it in 0.8. So I feel comfortable saying that we can get to this point. So we're looking at what, 8 months, I think, 9 months until 0.8, and I feel comfortable saying that we can ship self-hosted at that time. And what that means is that we have we have a faster compiler it's more sustainable to work on and develop. We can iterate a little bit faster. It means having the first draft of the language spec. And I'm going to put Josh on the spot here. And he's running away.
And he left.
I'm really hoping that I can get Josh to help out with drafting up the language spec, because he's really good at that kind of thing, and I could definitely use a hand with that. So anyway, 0.8. I feel comfortable saying that self-hosted can be ready by then, along with not a final, but a draft of language spec. And that is really a big step towards 1.0. And it's also a step where we can start releasing bug fix releases. So it'll start to feel a lot different after that point in time. And probably then I would feel comfortable picking a 1.0 release date.
Makes sense.
That's the most of a promise you're going to get from me right now.
And I think we can also add that the idea behind the Zig stability program is going to be tied to the self-hosted compiler, because we are not crazy and trying to offer stability over the C++ code base. I would even adventure into saying over C++ in general. Not a good idea. So don't worry. The idea behind the Zig stability program is to really help and not hinder progress. There's a lot more questions, but let's watch the pasta trailer video, shall we? And maybe somebody else will be intrigued enough to work towards that goal. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Okay, then let's play it.
Mamma mia!
Mamma mia!
Nice video. I wonder if they'll unlock it. But I'm never going to unlock my pasta. And we're back.
Wait, so is there coffee in your pasta?
No, but I mean, you make coffee when you do this stuff. At least people do around here. So I was watching your video and I wanted a coffee, and yeah, it's nice that we were able to unlock it, but There's Philosophy in chat. I'm impressed. I'm Italian and I actually approve of this coffee video. Thank you. I did make a mess with the coffee. It wasn't fully on purpose, but once I started messing around a little bit, I said, okay, fuck it. I'm going to make people uncomfortable with it. And and by the way, so somebody was commenting about it being compressed. I did not compress it. What I did was peel away the extra with my finger without squeezing everything underneath. Again, you don't want to get yourself in that situation, to be honest, but whatever. Once I was there, I said, okay, that this is how it's gonna go.
You know, I'm gonna be honest, I missed the first half of it because I was taking a K potty break.
Nice. I'm sure K-Prod is gonna be proud of being part of that joke.
Sorry, K-Prod.
Dang, okay. Well, yeah, so I don't know if you want to see the rest.
I don't know. I don't think they want to see it.
Yeah, apparently they don't. That's fine. We can keep it under wraps. It doesn't have to be released necessarily.
Yeah, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put it as the next goal on this GitHub sponsors.
Maybe we could. 24-hour stream, please. Yeah, Philosophy has it right. Yeah, making a mess is better than compressing. I agree. When you compress stuff, it actually breaks. You shouldn't even attempt that. So is the coffee trailer CC by SA? So if we unlock it, I actually wrote on the YouTube channel, on the YouTube video description of the full recipe, that it's an the title is an open source pasta recipe. And there's actually a full license disclaimer in the description. As the license, of course, I chose the EUPL, European Union Public License, obviously.
You didn't go GPL? You don't want Richard Stallman in there?
So I was thinking about AGPL, but I think EUPL is kind of similar when it comes to the actual rights and restrictions, and I think it's worded in a less ranty way. Yeah, European pasta license. But yeah. So I think we can go forward with the remaining questions, and I don't know if we don't see any other donations once we hit the 2-hour mark. I guess we can call it a day.
It's like
yeah,
it's like popcorn, right? Once the pops stop happening every few seconds, you got to take it out of the microwave before it burns.
Yeah, I agree. So there was a question by Eleanor for everybody, I think. So what's a high-level feature that you miss most from Zig that will never be added to preserve simplicity?
I have an answer, but I'll go after other people if you want to.
I also have mine. So, maybe we should start so they can think about it more. Okay. Or do you guys have it?
I'm not sure if I will have an answer, but I'm going to give it some thought.
Okay.
I may not know enough about what Andy may or may not be open to in the future to give a good answer.
I have a super easy answer. Automatic memory allocation. It's super convenient to just pretend that you have unlimited memory and it never fails. Boy, it's real convenient to just assume that, and I miss it.
Thank you for the donation. That's a good point, actually, and it's probably weirdly connected to my point too, although I have to admit, so while I was editing that video, so as I said, this is my first time recording a video and editing it, like really first time, never done it. I mean, I've glued a rendered HTML animation to music, which is what the intro to Showtime is, basically. But that's like a boop, 2-step job, and that's it. This is the first time I've actually edited something, and that was fun. So if while watching it, you were thinking, is this guy actually like trying out every single button in the application? Yeah, actually, yes. Is this like a toddler playing around with the... Yeah, precisely. And if you know what YouTube poops are, there is a bit of that also into my full recipe. I'm not...
Now I want to donate.
I'm not proud to say this. I did not set off with the idea I'm gonna make a YouTube poop, but then after watching it, it was undeniable. So anyway,
I have a whole playlist on YouTube of TF2 poops, but sadly, like over half of them are all removed now. Should have downloaded them.
Why would that get removed?
I don't know. It's entropy.
So my answer would be, I don't know if that is this isn't really an explicit feature of programming languages, but I was actually surprised to end up with a completely new class of errors that you can find in Zig and in C also, but in lower level programming languages, and that's like memory corruption errors. When I'm programming in Python or in JavaScript, that is like a class of things that never happens. And I remember the first few times getting really confused while like debugging and seeing that what was happening didn't make sense. And the answer was that somewhere earlier I made a mistake, and now everything was garbage and nothing made sense. And the actual place where you made the mistake is not where... It's not necessarily where the program is misbehaving, right? Because you start misbehaving once you start walking through the garbage. So that is something that would be nice not to have. But on the other hand, yeah, if that's how the machine works, that's how the machine works. Going back to what Andrew was saying though, and going back to my YouTube video, the program that I use to edit the video is called DaVinci Resolve, which is very nice. And thank you to the people in Discord and especially Hayes who recommended it. And but it did crash on me a couple of times. And it turns out that I had I had pagination, what's it called? Yeah, swap, virtual memory, yeah, swap on Windows set up in a wrong way because I had disconnected one hard drive. And the thing would immediately crash because I would run out of memory, and that program crashing would also crash Discord, because Discord, being Electron, was probably dynamically allocating everything always, all the time, I guess. And it was fun to see the application DaVinci crash, Discord hang, and Firefox crash also in the meantime. At the same time. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind these programs behaving in a more rational way when that happens. But yeah, that said, yeah.
One thing too, before Mason goes, sorry, I just want to point out that we do have a whole bunch of like safety as a language feature is something that we are, we have some safety features, we have some stuff set up, but there's a whole bunch more that's planned that is actually going to significantly improve the safety story of Zig. And it's not super high up on the priority list because it's not needed in order to get to, self-hosted compiler, package manager, that sort of thing. But actually, even these problems of memory corruption, while we will never get to somewhere as good as Rust or JavaScript or even Go, we'll get very close. While still having the power that we have. So that actually is something that I feel confident saying will be significantly improved in the future.
I wanted to say before I forget, I'll have to message you about DaVinci later, because DaVinci always crashed for me. Maybe I've made the same mistake. But yeah, I don't know if I have a great answer to this, because I don't necessarily know like the list of things that Andy may or may not consider in the future, but I suspect that whatever my answer would actually be a result of of not wanting to do invisible allocations, not just not wanting to have a garbage collector or have like a borrow checker or something, but the not wanting to just invisibly allocate. I like the fact that Zig does not invisibly allocate. In fact, it's something I very much like about Zig. However, there are some features that I'm used to, even in low-level languages, that just kind of like, okay, we're gonna get some memory now, and not have any, the caller of the function has no way of knowing that that's happening. I can't think off the top of my head what a good example of that is. I think Andy and I, maybe you remember, we were talking about something maybe a few months ago like this, where it didn't occur to me that you wouldn't be able to do it until you told me, but I don't remember what it was.
I don't recall. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Josh?
Well, a lot of the big ones have been said already. That's what happens when you go last. But in addition to type safety, which is not a first-class thing in Zig like it is in Java or Python, we've also got memory allocation, unconstrained memory allocation. That's also not a thing in Zig. Everything's explicit. And then the one more design feature of Zig is that there's no hidden control flow, which it all sort of goes hand in hand with the no hidden allocations. So I'm going to cheat a little bit by answering this question not exactly in the right way, but it's because people have gone before me, so I have to do something different. Not every tool is the right tool for the right job, and so I use a lot of Python at work, and Python is a really good language for some domains. And when I think about writing these like workstation utilities, code searching utilities, things for managing files, copying them over the network, I think about them in Python where they work, and then I think about them in Zig. And I don't think it would be better in Zig. I think that Python is a better tool for some applications like that, and it's because Python you can allocate memory by typing open square bracket, and there you go. You're making it an array already. And so the way that Zig is a different tool for a different class of problems, I think, is a really important thing to keep in mind when talking about features that are missing from a programming language. The other thing right now that I miss in Zig, so again, this is cheating. I'm not actually answering the question because we do intend to get this later. But IDE integration is something that I really miss back from the days when I was a Java programmer. And so far, I'm really impressed at how the projects are coming along for Zig, like ZLS, which I'm using in VS Code for the current projects. And I'm excited to see those go even further. But yeah, those are some things that came to mind out of this discussion as well.
Hey, shout outs to Filippo. Thanks for joining. Filippo's on the Go team.
So let's see, other questions. There were a couple of donations, by the way, in the meantime. Thank you very much to who donated. Not quite there.
How close are we
yet,
to the pasta, though?
Yeah,
Ooh.
closer, but not there.
I think 2 more and we'll be at 6K. That's pretty close.
That's pretty close, yes. We might think of a discount. Small one, maybe, since there's COVID. We'll see. I don't like the idea. I don't like the idea of giving up my secrets so easily. My YouTube poop so easily. Anyway, this is a question from Suirad. I've been experimenting with using some Zig unique features to do unique things simply. What is something unique to Zig that you may be looking forward to being accomplished with its feature set? Oh, boy, do I have an answer for that.
Go for it.
Do for real, correctly, for once, what macros have been doing horribly since the birth of computer science and software engineering. Kill macros forever.
Yep.
Can I modify that to also kill generics for forever?
Wait, no, we like generics.
No, I mean I like the way it works in Zig, but I'm like, well, I shouldn't say generics, I guess. I don't know, C++ template system.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's
like I feel like being able to simultaneously solve both the macro problem and the template problem.
Wait, I
Pretty
thought
nice.
the question was asking about like what projects are you gonna do? You know, like a game or like, you know.
Oh, I might have completely imagined a different question then. I thought it was a question about features.
I actually do hope to accomplish in killing macros, to be fully honest. But yeah, probably it's a matter of doing a project that I guess can leverage some of those features. And but again, like at least for my answer, I don't have necessarily a big answer directly tied to one project that I'm working on. But there are so many half-baked implementations out there. Even I just said macros, right? But think of it the other way. Think about how much runtime. Whoa! Thank you for the donations. Think about how much runtime reflection is happening out there when it's not really necessary. And Philo Sottile is here, so Go is one example of that. I don't blame Go. I think it's that's how the language, as of now, since there are no generics yet, works. And you can still, if you want, you can walk around that through. You can use CodeGen. I think I saw a nice, for example, JSON serializer and deserializer library that does code generation to specialize, which I guess is a bit of a solution, but still. I'm thinking about C#. I've seen so much runtime reflection in C# that it's enough for a lifetime for me. So I think it would be nice to finally untangle runtime and not runtime and have each step whenever it makes sense. So that's nice. And I think there are a lot of projects that will be able to enjoy that. My Redis client, for example, is using CompTime to specialize functions in I think in a way that's reasonable and readable. So yeah, that's one project, for example, that it's using CompTime a lot. But I know that's the easy answer. Is there any other big answer that anybody wants to give?
Can you repeat the question? I think there was some confusion in the question.
The question is, what is something unique to Zig that you may be looking forward to being accomplished with its feature set? So for me, it's stuff that can specialize at CompTime without, in a way that doesn't suck. Long story short.
I know what I want to do. I want to reboot my music player. Well, Josh and my music player project, Groove Basin. It's right now it's a Node.js music player server. It has a subscription-based protocol, JSON protocol, and it has an HTML page with WebSockets where it's really snappy. You know, it like does all the UI updates while it's communicating the data to the server, and it's just a music collection. So instead of, you know, Spotify or whatever streaming, you can stream your own hard drive to yourself or your friends at the same time. And it works great, you know, but it's bit rotting because we haven't touched it in a couple years. And I want to do it in Zig using async await and event-based stuff. Looking forward to rebooting that.
I'm looking forward to being able to cross-compile video games for the browser. This is something I've already seen some proofs of concept of it working, and I'm excited to use that in my own games. I think that's a really great thing to be able to make a game once and then have it work natively or just at the click of a link, and then it's immediately working. I think that's a really huge feature. So I'm excited to see the I think the compiler support is very stable, but then there's additional like library support packages and stuff.
Okay, any other answer? Or shall we move forward?
We can move forward. I was reading the chat instead of thinking of an answer for some reason. I don't know why I did that.
It's fine, don't worry. So there's one from K Proti. Will Zig ever provide semantics to interact more closely with source code? Things that come to mind are source maps of the stack for functions in order to implement precise GC marking.
I guess that's for me. Yeah, that's an important use case, and maybe I'm sort of not understanding the question correctly, but I'm thinking of like async await event-based code and looking at a stack trace. And sure, it might be nice to see the stack trace go back to the event loop if you're debugging the event loop, but usually you're not doing that. You're debugging your application code, and so what you actually would want would be the stack trace, not a stack trace, but sort of like your await trace or something. That kind of thing. So I don't have anything besides ideas in my head, but I strongly believe that that's an important use case to tackle and solve. K-Party says, e.g., see the types that are stored in an async frame. Yeah, that sort of thing. Here's what I think. I think that what Zig is doing with async functions is a fundamental computer science thing, and we do it in sort of a different way than other languages do it. But I think that we do it in a way that should be considered a primitive. And I think that for a lot of the other features that Zig has, we're able to take advantage of years of tooling. For example, GDB, Valgrind, Microsoft Visual Studio, Mozilla's RR projects. All these things use debug info, and they expect programs to basically be like C programs at the end of the day, and that's all useful. But I think that the idea of a coroutine is a primitive that deserves its own tooling and recognition in all of this software. And this might be a case where the Zig project has to sort of pull the rest of the world along with it instead of pulling itself forward based on it. So I'm not sure what that looks like in the future, but I'm confident that our primitives are where they need to be. And it's even possible that the rest of the ecosystem just catches up, and then we just benefit from the changes that are inevitable to happen because of computer science moving forwards. So I don't know. I know that's kind of hand wavy and stuff, but basically, I think that this problem you're talking about is important to solve, and I do want to spend some time looking into it.
Okay, two related questions. I think one is best for you, Andrew, and I think I should take the second one. So will there be, so this is for you, will there be officially supported packages?
I don't think so. I don't see any reason to do that.
Okay. Second part, any examples of packages that you would include in the stability guarantees? So when it comes to the stability guarantees, keep in mind that it's something that makes sense prior to 1.0, and it's related to the language itself, not to packages. It's about use cases that don't necessarily use big packages. When it comes to packages, I don't think companies need stability guarantees. Companies are already today using random packages that they download off the internet, and they can live with that, and they should continue to do so. But that's a different class of problems, I think, compared to what your experience is when there is a bug in the compiler, right? That's much bigger. So for example, if we decide that one feature, I'll randomly name one that I know people care about, but I'm not necessarily saying anything about it, like that we are going to actually do it for that one. But for example, if we decide to say now packed structs are supposed to be stable, we will make sure that they stay stable for a given release, stay functioning for a given release. So if anybody stumbles upon a bug in the implementation, we will prioritize fixing it. But when it comes to packages, if somebody downloads a package from the internet and the package doesn't do what it's supposed to do, that's a much less problematic problem, and we right now don't have the resources to really look into that. We are not really looking forward. We're not looking into creating a support system a support service for companies to use for Zig. That's nowhere near what we want to do. What we want to do is just say, well, it's happening already with the language itself. I think it happened a few times that Andrew prioritized fixing one problem compared to another because somebody was using it, and it makes sense to prioritize fixing stuff that people actually end up using. What we are going to provide is a tiny step, relatively tiny step on top of that, which is making sure that this becomes a tagged build that you can then tag the release, then you can then download and reference to more easily than you would be able to reference a random commit somewhere, and so that it can be actually used by companies that are small enough to know how to handle this stuff and interested enough that they can actually really get something out of Zig, even in an incomplete state. It's a possibility. Maybe we are wrong and there are no companies out there that are in that situation. Maybe there are a few. Maybe there are some where people in the Zig community, maybe people watching right now on the stream already are the owners or somebody up high enough in the food chain to actually make a difference and decide to adopt Zig and know what they are getting into. So we'll see how it goes.
Can I answer Filippo's question?
Sure. Repeat it on the stream, please, also.
Yeah, Filippo asks, what's the current or planned state of memory safety, both spatial, overflows, and temporal, use after free, etc.? Okay, I don't know what spatial memory safety means. Maybe you can explain that to me while I address the second half. As far as use after free goes, here's the plan. So I have a proof of concept general purpose memory allocator. It's not merged into upstream yet, but it's just a separate repository right now. It works fine. How it works is there's a global atomic counter that's used as the hint for mmap, this is called. So every time we mmap, we give a hint to the operating system for where it should put the allocation. Because if you don't give a hint and you do map, unmap, it'll keep giving you the same address. So you're going to end up using the same virtual address space, which is defeats the point of the safety. So that's one component. The second component is that this memory allocator never reuses slots. So whenever it gets a chance to unmap a page, it does it. And if you have small allocations, it divides the pages up into little slots for the small allocations. And once an allocation is freed, it will never be reused. So unless all of the slots on that page are freed, then the page can get freed. Otherwise, it just stays up. And then finally, if the hint overflows, we just start over. So it is possible to end up using the same memory addresses for allocations, but it's very unlikely, and especially unlikely for 64 bits address space. And then, so that's the first component, and that's for heap allocations. And then there's the plan for stack allocations builds upon this idea. So the idea is that the compiler will do escape analysis to figure out which stack variables are in danger of having pointers last longer than their lifetime of the stack. And so what we'll do is we'll actually secretly allocate stack variables on the heap instead using this debug allocator that won't ever reuse the same addresses. And then at the end of the stack frame, automatically free them. And so you still have to follow the same rules, as you're always supposed to, right? The lifetimes of stack variables end at the end of the function call. However, now in the safe build modes, the program is going to catch the problems at runtime without memory corruption, right? It will manifest in either a seg fault or the special undefined memory bit pattern being what you observe in your debugger. So that's the spatial one, I think. Now let me read what or sorry, that's the other one. Okay, so Filippo says spatial memory safety is about bounds checking, like preventing buffer overreads. Oh, that one's just solved. So the way that you have slices of memory in Zig is with slices, a pointer and a length, and those are all bounds checked. So that's already solved. You can, of course, use raw pointers, and then you don't have these kinds of safety mechanisms. That's the same in Rust. That's the same in Go. That's the same in Python. So that's it.
Okay. Let's see. How are we doing with donations? Also.
Ooh, 5975.
Close. Not quite there though.
I'm thinking we do a few more questions and we call it a day.
Okay, makes sense. Though it would be nice to get there. So wait.
Whoa, what's my face doing there? That scared me for a second.
I saw your reaction, and I was like, "What are you?"
It's funny because when I look at it, I'm actually looking at it too. Oh no, I'm looking the other way. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, let me just for a second take a look here.
Let me answer Kamari's follow-up question. Yes, I agree that that this is a hidden memory allocation. However, you can disable it, and it will be off in release small and release fast builds. And just like the custom panic handler, custom log handler, and yeah, you can define your own like debug allocation handler, or just disable it. So this feature will actually even be available on freestanding. If you're writing an operating system, you could even define your like debug allocator function, and as long as you just satisfy that interface, you're actually going to have this debug protection in your debug operating system build. But does it count as a hidden allocation? In some ways it does, because it's going to possibly make a syscall to talk to the operating system. But the key difference here is that it will still have a fallback on the stack variable, right? Because assuming that the debug allocation, or let's call it a safety allocation, if the safety allocation fails, it will then fall back on the stack allocation, and it just won't have safety, right? So yeah, it's a little bit hidden, but I feel comfortable with it because safety is important, and it is something that you can opt out of. And I think it's fair to put it in the same category of code as you would put bounds checking, integer overflow checking, these sorts of things. So yeah, I mean, I think that that's a fair downside to point out. But I also feel like if the performance implications are acceptable, I think that it's a very strong and worthwhile default.
Okay, so here's a deal. I'm willing to strike a deal with the people watching. We are right now. Let me double check the number. Why did I navigate to another page?
5975.
Yes. Let's hit 6K. If we hit 6K, I'm fine with releasing the video at a lower price. But we need to.
Oh, you're gonna make it to 6K?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
$25. We are almost there.
Just one more.
Yeah.
I feel like we might be looking at a pasta recipe today.
If people want, if they don't want, it's fine. Also that way, I showed off my my trader. I'm happy. My work was observed, I guess. But it's fine. No problem. So,
well, you could also just hold your cards, and we could put the GitHub goal as the pasta recipe.
I know, but I think there's still people watching. It's almost, it's been more than 2 hours, so I think it would be nice to give them, something maybe mildly funny to watch, if they're willing to.
I forgot to remind people.
Yeah.
You can switch from donating to me to donating to the org. It still counts on the orange bar.
No, you did say that. You did.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So there's surely plenty of people that probably can do that right now. Grande Filippo, grande. Thank you. All right, the coffee video was good. I'm in for the final 50. Thank you very much.
Oh, now we're gonna find out how long the. Oh, that was fast.
I want to hear the ka-ching. Okay.
Did you hear it?
I did hear it. I don't know if I'm ready. So.
Oh, it's it. That's it. 6,000. That means it's time for pasta.
So here's the thing. What you saw, the trailer, is actually the initial part of the video. So we're gonna rewatch that, but it's worth watching it because it doesn't just cut there. I cut it early for the trailer. So get ready. Here's.
Is it happening?
Almost. Here's the full pasta video.
Mamma mia!
Mamma mia!
Nice video. I wonder if they'll unlock it. But then I'm going to unlock my pasta. So let's see what are the ingredients for my pasta. Oil, olive oil, salt, a bit of onion, some tomatoes, small tomatoes. It's fine if you find bigger ones or ones that are like slightly different. It's fine if they are a little bit acidic. What you really care about is for them not to have too much water in them. You don't want gigantic tomatoes. Or if you do, you might want to not include all their water in the pasta. I don't know precisely how I would manage that because I haven't done myself, but I understand that you might not have at hand easy access to this particular type of tomato. So don't worry, it doesn't necessarily have to be this one. The only thing you have to worry about is for them not to be too full of liquid. Small mozzarellas. These are small, let's say, bites of mozzarellas. I'll show you later how they are inside. And again, if you don't find this particular type, the point is it has to be mozzarella. Try for it to be real mozzarella, so don't buy the square, dry things that you can find in some places.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
But at the same time, if it's a big one, you just need to cut it. And this one, for example, I'm gonna cut each of the small pieces in half. So other times I found other types of mozzarella were even smaller and I didn't even need to cut them. So I'm sure you can make do with what you will find. Let's see the pasta. The pasta in this case is strofie. It's a particular type of pasta, and what's interesting about this pasta is that it's a type of fresh pasta. So if we look at the weight, this is 500 grams, that's half a kilo, which is a lot, but that's because this pasta is not dried up. So that's why it seems off if you compare it to other types of dried up pasta. This 500 grams, that's basically good for 2 pretty big portions. So a single individual, a single person would eat probably half of this and it would be a very big meal. Anyway, final 2 ingredients. So all you've seen until now, tomatoes, olive oil, trofie, mozzarella, onion, these are pretty traditional ingredients. These are the things that you are used to if you're Italian and you're eating this kind of stuff. Let's add 2 ingredients that are not exactly traditional, something new, something to add on top of a tradition that we know works well. Ingredient number 1, maize, so corn, I guess. I'm sure this is super easy to find everywhere. 160 grams, including the water that's inside, 140 without the water. So that's more or less your quantity. And that's good for 1 person. So everything that you've seen here, these tomatoes are good for 1 portion. So for half of the trofie, this is good for 1 portion. Olive oil, not the whole bottle, the right amount, same with the salt. For the onion, we are gonna cut it in half and use probably 1 and then cut it in half again. So 1/4 for each portion. And I will prepare in 2 portions, by the way. Final ingredient, würstels. I'm using here chicken and turkey würstels, so not pig würstels. It's a preference. You can use whatever you want. And if you're vegetarian, just don't include this. Without this, the pasta is gonna compile anyway, so don't worry. So let's get cooking. So let's clean the onion and cut it in half. If you don't like onion, you might want to use less anyway. If you like onion a lot, you might want to use more. Although, if you're not sure, stick with these portions. This is gonna be 1, this is gonna be the other one. I'll cut it in very small pieces. This is more or less the size that you want to cut the onion. You might want it finer, you might want it rougher. It's up to you. I think that's a good balance. That's how I like it. So I'm done with the onions. This goes back in the fridge, and next are tomatoes. I'm going to cut each tomato in 4 parts. Okay. Next step, mice. Okay, this is a good time to add oil and salt. Verstos, 1 pack for each portion. You don't have to be perfect, even if some get cut, it's fine. Okay, we're done with the condiments, I guess, the toppings. Now it's time for the pasta. Cooking time, 4 to 6 minutes. Fresh pasta doesn't take a lot of time to cook, so keep that in mind. Let's do it.
No, cazzo, c'è una rete qua nascosta.
Mica ci ho
Ammazzatela,
fatto l'ha provato.
L'ho ettata,
Sì, e lagga. Sì, e lagga. L'ha provato.
L'ho ettata,
Sì, e lagga. Minchia cosa gli ho fatto.
C'è un altro team. Oppure l'ha ressato.
forse, ragazzi.
È entrato?
Mamma mia, cosa ho fatto? Nice. So this is real-time Laurie speaking. Unfortunately, this part was supposed to have a piece of music that is copyright claimed on every platform. So I don't know. Oh yeah. Beautiful. Oh yeah. More beautiful. The beauty is that the pasta is hot and it's melting a tiny little bit mozzarella. And that's perfect. Now your option is either take out a plate or pick out from the bowl. And we're back.
Wow. That was something. I want to know what Filippo thinks about that recipe.
It's pretty good. I actually was surprised how nice it is when I first tried it. It was taught to me by a friend. I left it in the end credits by Leo. I think I don't remember if that was the precise recipe he told me, or if I think we tweaked it a little bit over time by trying stuff out. But Felipe was saying I'm tweeting about it. By the way, it's on YouTube. I published it on YouTube, so here's the link. No, okay. God damn it. Cross-platform copying. If anybody can find a link from the Zig Showtime YouTube channel and share it, that would be awesome. Don't worry, the bot is not gonna ban you. Actually, no, I can do it from here. Oh, wait. Yep. Oh, God. Here it is. Thank you also, Luna. So yeah, and if you go check it out on YouTube, you can see the full license it's released under, of course, obviously. Well, anyway, I guess that was the pasta recipe. So what do we want to do? I think it's about time we say our goodbyes. What do you guys think? Yeah, It's been long enough, I think. So let me do one thing. I still have one last short piece of content, a real send-off to today's announcement. And after that, we can all give our parting thoughts, say goodbye, and yeah, and just leave it there. So give me a second. Here's the final video for today. Enjoy. Okay. So, Andrew, do you want to go first?
Yes. Thanks, everyone. This has been amazing. You saw me at the beginning when I was flabbergasted and didn't even know what to say. Thank you so much. I'm going to make a announcement right now if Loris gives me the okay.
Go for it.
All right. Okay, nobody actually stopped donating to me. So, all of that new donations that we got today are new income for the organization. We're good. We have met the goal. We can hire a developer now. And, in fact, I'm going to edit this funds.txt file here to indicate that fact right now. We did it.
There's a few people
Thank you so much.
that are saying that you might not see canceled donations. Although, no, I think there is a text that tells you what you can expect in the future, I think.
Yeah, I just looked at it. So, I think we're good. I can't give you any more information about that yet, but ball's in our court now. So thank you so much for putting your trust in the Zig Software Foundation, and we're gonna make sure that it's well placed. Can't wait. Oh my God, have someone helping work on the code. Oh yes. Okay, so parting thoughts. That's it. Those are my parting thoughts. Anybody else have anything to add?
I think we should go in order. Josh, you go first.
Sure. Yeah, I'm really amazed to be a part of this community. From where I sit, contributing to the Zig software project, I'm not always aware of the scope and just how big the community is of people and how enthusiastic people are. And this event has been great for me just to see just how generous everyone is and how much spontaneous enthusiasm there is for this project. So I'm honored to be a part of it. And thank you, everybody.
Mason?
Yeah, I feel similarly. I know that I believe in Zig, but seeing that so many other people do as well is really amazing. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I'm happy to see that people are seeing, I don't know, what I've seen, I guess, in Zig. To me personally, maybe that's my a flaw on my character, but the moment I saw Zig, the moment I saw cont, it clicked immediately and I said, yeah, obviously, that's how it has to be. That's obviously amazing. And so to me, I never put into question whether Zig would succeed or not. So I'm happy everybody is catching up. And then I guess the other thing I want to say is, well, let me do a couple of like service announcements. So first of all, I told this already, but to remind everybody, also there was a question about this, about the frequency at which Zig Showtime airs. Zig Showtime usually airs weekly, but we are going on a break for the rest of the summer. We are coming back on September. So please enjoy your summer and yeah, wait for September to come. But we are still, the call for speaker is still open. So if you want to submit a session, please do. I will be happy to come in contact with you and set everything up way before September comes, so that you don't have to be on the fence whether the talk is going to happen or not. I'll be super happy to talk with you as quickly as possible. And also t-shirts for returning speakers. And with that, I guess that we can go to the end screen.
This is how we